Are you ready to see the future of cyber threat protection? Today, we meet Alex Haussmann, the man who's revolutionizing anti-deepfake technology with a simple headset. In this episode, we will dive into the shocking ease of creating deepfakes, why your business is at risk, and how a low-tech solution could save you millions. And we'll also talk about if I should show up to my next client meeting as the client. Stay tuned. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our podcast. Today we have Alex Haussmann, founder of Haussmann.
Haussmann, yeah, close enough. But anyways.
We have Alex Haussmann, founder of Reality Anchor, an anti-deepfake company. Alex,
Right.
you look very different today. I don't think I've seen your face before.
You have seen the face before. It's, a lot of people have seen the face before. Some people might think I'm, a celebrity. I'm not actually a celebrity. I just look like one. Now, it'll become very obvious when I put on the headset. This is a low-tech solution to those of you facing IT problems when you're like, oh, I need to be able to identify, like, if someone's scamming me, if there's a deepfake attack for my executives, right? And this is a deepfake headset. Now, I'd love to show you the side-by-side, but I don't think the software is gonna cooperate with us. This is what it looks like, it should look like, and this is what it looks like when it's not, when the person's trying to pull a fast one. It's a very effective solution. The way it works is it disrupts the eigenface, and that by disrupting the eigenface, you're able to counter the deepfake, people who are trying to do deepfakes. That's how it works.
It is awesome. You definitely fooled me a couple of times. I was talking to Mr. Bean here.
A lot of people can't tell. If you, you meet people who've never seen Mr. Bean before. I always use Mr. Bean because he looks like me, and they can't guess. They have some real troubles, and you can imagine if you're like an executive and like you're gonna get nailed by someone impersonating you and stealing your data. Earlier this year, or earlier last year now, somebody got nailed. The software is a little bit finicky, but someone got nailed by a. Hold on. Let's see if I can get this thing up and running. Malfunction indeed. Now the hackers will have a better hardware setup than me, so they're less likely to get got. But get got by that. But earlier this year, someone used the same technique to defeat a what do you call them? To steal $25 million from a bank in Hong Kong. So the threat is real.
I know. I've heard about them impersonating CEOs of large companies on Zoom calls and be like, "Hey, give me money," and like, "Okay."
Right. I mean, social engineering is such a effective method, and this just turns it up all the way to 11. It makes it so easy.
We have more threats to worry about now. Now we have deep fakes, and I thought we've seen it all. But we were screwed as a society for sure.
Well, hopefully not. I think you just have to realize the reality that you're in and adapt appropriately. That's what I think.
I know a lot of companies have a hard time adapting alone to this basic security measures, to keep their company and people safe, let alone taking on deep fakes now.
I can imagine.
What do we do?
Well, a lot of companies really don't feel the need to invest very heavily in cybersecurity, but it's a real shame because it's so easy and easy to get got, and you leave yourself so vulnerable. It's like saying, "Oh, I don't want to have a lock on my door." You got to have a lock on your door. You don't really have an option.
And some companies leave the key in the door and lock it, and they think that's a good strategy.
It's just not.
The key's in the door.
You got to have an IT staff, and you got to have a cybersecurity staff in order to mitigate, the threats, especially if you're
Mr. Bean coming on my podcast impersonating Alex.
I know, right? It's Mr. Bean's. Mr. Bean came all the way out here to your podcast, and he's impersonating me. Like,
I would
know.
love to see the software. Is that a possibility?
Absolutely.
You can do a screen share? Yeah.
So yeah, for sure. For those of you who haven't seen the deepfake software, it murders the GPU. By the way, this is a Ryzen 7800 XT. In order to run this kind of software, the attacker is going to need usually 1 to 2 of these things. Let me just close that out. 1 to 2 of these things. Oh, where do we go? 1 to 2 of these.
Screen within a screen within a screen.
Let's see if I can figure out how to. I'm trying my best. There we go.
There you go.
Hopefully, it's less distracting. But in order to run this thing, the attacker's got to be able to have a GPU about that sort of as their deepfake GPU. Over here, we'll see the deepfake live software, and you get an output like this.
So now, if you look can get this online for free,
absolutely, for sure, it's free and it's open source. This is an open source thing. You can download this, and if you have your GPU, you have a big enough GPU, it'll be almost flawless. And all it'll take is 2 or 3 minutes of the target's face data, and you're them. So with a pretty reasonable computer, maybe a $5,000 or $6,000 investment, you can have a computer. The attacker can have a computer that's able to completely defeat most people's ability to distinguish between people. You get their voice, you get their sound, you hop in, you ask for access, you ask for money, and
it brings a whole new look to the term social engineering.
No, because it's not like you can be pretty suspicious of somebody you don't know, but when it's somebody you do know, holy cow! You can imagine.
Very familiar, Mom. Is that you?
Yeah. The attacks on the elderly are crazy. There was this lady in, I think it was France or somewhere, and she got nailed by this guy. His name was this guy who was impersonating Tom Hanks. We don't know who actually was, but
it was Tom Hanks.
It was really Tom Hanks in disguise. Tom Hanks really wanted to marry this lady from France. And they got. They really
got them.
Yeah, and there went I don't know why my GPU is
system overload.
Little bit of a system overload indeed. I don't have with OBS and this installed, I don't have quite enough let me see if I can close out some of these instances.
You almost need your own farm there, so you can really get this going.
Yeah, you got it. You almost. Oh, whoops. There we go. I got the wrong one. But it's incredible the level of deepfake live is what it's called. If you want to give it a shot and you want to spook your people into investing into some better cybersecurity,
100%. I'm trying this with a company that I know.
Yeah, just go ahead and download deepfake live. Just search it right up. 1 click install, and you're in there. You're in there, and you're ready to start impersonating. The way it works is you can hook it up to any camera, and it'll detect your face. It'll align your face, so it'll get this little version of the face. Make the face. And then it will animate the face and then merge the face in all the faces into one, and you'll look just like your target. Here we have a variety.
Nightmares for weeks, man. Seriously.
I can imagine. Can you imagine this as an attack against against an executive or against just a low-level employee?
Or you've been using this in your marketing. Hey,
this is how I market.
Complete target marketing.
And so here's how my device defeats it.
Yes, you do have a device. I'd love to know more about that.
Right. The way the device works is it disrupts this step right here and the final step. Essentially, it forces it to solve a really hard problem. So we have, as you can see right here, some magnifying glasses, some magnification inside of this device. And that makes it really hard for the deepfake algorithm to defeat it. Now, essentially what you're doing is you're forcing it to solve multiple difficult ray tracing algorithms, which is not easy. And so the device can't really do it very effectively. And so it becomes easier to tell who is and who isn't a deepfake.
How long did it take you to come up with this? It's such a simple device that you could put together in your basement, like, here, eat that, AI.
I did.
Like,
Actually, let me show you the first iteration of this. You'll
just
get a kick
so
out of it.
simple to beat the most complex technology.
Anti-deepfake headset TikTok. Not the ideal platform for security, but this is actually the first iteration of the device right here. So when I came up with it, I was like, wow, this is going to be a real problem long term. And I was like, well, what if I took one of these deepfake models and I got a hanger and some tape and I just put some lenses between me and the deepfake model. So I did that, and it worked. And so I filed the patent, and we're off to the races. This is actually the first. This is
how long ago was that one?
This was 2 years ago.
Wow.
This is when right after ChatGPT, right before ChatGPT came out.
Move over, Alex is in town.
Yeah, and it works. It works really, really efficiently. It's a really efficient method of defeating the device, because you're inserting data into the device, into the deepfake headset stream, and that makes it harder for the people to be able to identify it.
I feel like your next rendition of it's gonna be like little things you put on your face, and that's it, and bam.
Yeah. So I can't go into details, but I got to know a lot of people working on the device, and we're hoping to get a device made. So this is a device that a cybersecurity professional would love, someone like me, whereas not really into the fashion statements, right? Like, I'm not really.
Works. It's cheap. We can use it.
Yeah, like that's kind of my goal. They were like, we love the concept. No one wants to wear this. What if we get a designer and they're going to design something that's going to you could wear on a fashion show or something. Now we got to make sure it still functions, but that's what I'm thinking. Now to me, one headset is much like another one, but some people like to think this looks kind of goofy, which it probably does.
I can do that.
We're going to make one that looks a little bit less goofy.
But it works. That's the key.
That's the big thing, is that this
goofy or $25 million.
Yeah. Do you want to look goofy, or do you want to look like, I think it's hard to look goofier than losing $25 million in a transaction.
I think so. You look goofy there if you lose $25 million, just saying.
It's crazy how effective it is. Everyone know. So from your perspective as a cybersecurity professional, what do you think is the would you agree the human is the weakest link?
Yes, an untrained, irrational human who does not know what they're doing, pressing buttons, going on sites. Yes, 100%.
Right.
And if they're trained also, they can still be the weakest link too. Because as being human beings, we make mistakes. Right?
Absolutely.
I clicked on it. No.
Right. You get phished, you get one of these. You'd say social engineering in your work would you say social engineering is the number one thing that people get nailed with? Is they get a social engineering attack?
What I've seen is just people not paying attention to when emails are coming in, not really taking the time to realize, am I expecting this email? Did it come from someone I know, like, or trust? And they just click on things. They see, oh, my name, let me click on it. So they're so busy and they start clicking on things, not really, even though they may have been trained, they just forget. And just, oops, I clicked on it, what do I do now?
They're just not paying as much attention as they should be.
Yeah, and I can understand, because in that environment, you're dealing with patients, doctors, maybe they're mad, kids in the clinic, all kinds of stuff going on.
Right, it's easy to get distracted. Oh goodness, not that again.
Video and
I was
video
gonna
going
look
down
you
the
in the
rabbit
face.
hole.
I saw that and I was like, "Ooh, whoopsie daisies." Let's not do the mirror. Let's go ahead and enter the mirror dimension. I that's what I thought as well. Like, because I'm a software engineer, and when I'm doing software engineering work, the last thing I'm thinking about is cybersecurity. It's just not.
Right?
It's just not at the front of my mind. And if you're so you, I think I completely agree with you. You need someone on staff who really believe, whose really whole job is to protect you from these cyber threats.
Yes, because also, like, since humans are the missing link, you have to have certain controls in place to help them protect themselves from being protected.
In a hospital environment, right? Things are happening all the time. It's like, you know, it's crazy. Like,
Blood
people's lives
everywhere,
are on the line.
people screaming. Yeah.
You enforce compliance with cyber standards in that kind of environment. Is it even possible?
So you have to have agents in place. They're kind of continuously auditing and have the computers locked down. So, for example, things can't be installed or removed or added without prior authorization from IT.
Makes
A lot of
sense.
companies don't have that, so therefore it's the wild, wild west. I actually had this conversation with this executive recently. He's like, "Oh, well, we have policies. They're going to follow them. They'll do it." I'm like, just because you have a policy does not mean they're going to follow it. You have to also put safeguards in place to help them with that policy. They're human. They make mistakes, you know?
Right. So with that, with the human being weakest link, how do you, like, let's say someone, so with the new AI agents, right? You know, you got AI agents, AI is able to do things on its own, interact with the computer. Are you worried about the next generation AI where it's able to, think on its own, act on its own, and maybe even hack people on its own, install ransomware, things like this into hospitals?
Oh,
Are you concerned?
100%, because then it turns into what you think is private information is no longer your information.
Right.
It's AI's information. You don't know what they're going to be doing with that. They can get past your firewalls, your safeguards. You may not even ever know they were there doing that.
So AI internal is a security risk, and external AI is coming to hack you are also a security risk. Is that
Maybe they're
correct?
going to link up and team up and screw us all.
It's really. I mean, I
It's a
think
real
it's a
concern.
huh.
It's
It's
a real
definitely
concern.
for sure, because these language models can themselves be hacked. They can be defeated. You can do prompt injection, and then someone says, "Oh yeah, this link is safe, or this software is safe." Your AI model says it, and the AI model is trying to get a ransomware attack off on your device, right?
I was actually just hearing a conversation about China came out with their new open AI model that like blows everyone else out the water, and they're concerned on security measures that if that one takes over, because China has a lot of with misinformation that they're trying to spill into things. That would
Right,
spill over to the open source, and they would become under their control, and they're scared about that.
right, because China would be able to do prompt injection, and like maybe they can get a virus onto your machine, and then all of a sudden, all your data that you
Answer.
thought was yours isn't yours anymore.
Mm-mm. It's a real threat, and it's like there's so much information around it, and there's so much nuances to it that a lot of people just don't understand what's going on. Like, they have like us, we get it, but it's like how
Right.
do we show them and show people that journey to help them understand what needs to be done for the future?
The way I think of like all this new stuff is it's kind of like in the early days of a car, right? Everyone was just sort of, well, it was crazy. Like there weren't like seat belts. It's insane. And like people were driving drunk, and it was just kind of the wild, wild west. And some people think back in those days and think, oh yeah, that's how it should be. Definitely how it was. I think probably better to have some regulations, have the government come in and say, hey man, you got to be wearing your seatbelt and you can't be driving drunk. Like, can't do that sort of stuff.
No means no.
Like stuff like that. You
But
gotta.
how do you regulate AI? How do you regulate something that can potentially have its own infrastructure to do kind of free will what it wants to do? How do you put regulations on something like that?
I don't think you can put regulations on this type of technology.
Yeah.
I really think that ship was never even in, like, forget that ship is passed. I think that ship was never even in the harbor.
They're just saying this to make us feel better.
Right. It's like, oh, we're going to go after the supply chain of deep fakes and AI. The reality is all this stuff is open source, right?
Okay.
It's already out in the wild. And if it's not going, and even if you can regulate it inside your own country, even you put laws inside your own country, you really have to defend yourself, right? And so the regulation, in my opinion, has to be focused at and on the people doing the service providing.
100%. Education, training. But so many people don't pay attention. They don't pay attention. They don't care to care, or they don't care to understand.
That's exactly the problem I've been having. No one wants this to be a problem. They don't. My software crashed again.
No worries. They don't want to do anything about it. They don't want to do anything about doing something about it.
Well, I mean, because it costs money. You have to hire a cybersecurity professional. You have to, which is expensive. And then you have to make your employees and yourself spend additional time and additional resources doing the things you need to make you secure. No one wants to do that.
And what you just said, like, it takes two parties, not just a cybersecurity professional, but it takes that company to also work with you and change their behavior. And they have to put the time and the work into it also. They don't do that like they're supposed to.
They don't want to.
Yeah, so no, this is not my job. This is
because they have all their own stuff they want to be doing. Now, in your work, what would you say is so let's say a company gets ransomware hacked, right? I hear that happens a lot to hospitals. Is that correct?
It does. I work with a lot of small to medium-sized businesses, but you do hear about hospitals and third-party vendors getting ransomware all the time.
Once that happens, does that change the culture, or do you have to actually experience the cyber attack yourself in order to get people?
I feel that can go both ways, because sometimes it does change the dynamics of their culture, and they start putting safeguards in place. But then sometimes it's the other side of that, where they get the ransomware, they lose their reputation, millions of dollars, and then they still don't know what to do or how to do it, so they do nothing.
So you're saying even after you get ransomware attacked, you still don't change?
It does happen, yeah.
Oh, that's so unfortunate.
Right?
Because there's, I can kind of understand if you're, we've never been hacked before, but you think once you get got, you'd want to defend yourself, right? Like if someone breaks into your house, you'd want to, lock your doors, install some cameras, things like that.
Yeah. The thing is, sorry to interrupt you. Sometimes some companies don't have the resources or the financial stability to do anything about it. If it's a large hospital, they may have resources, so they can actually find the right company to help them get through it. But then you have the other side of that, maybe like small solo practitioners or smaller, medium-sized businesses. They just don't know what to do, have the resources, so they do nothing. They close up shop. They don't learn from that, and then maybe they open another business. It kind of repeats the cycle.
Wow. That's
there's a huge behavior change that's not happening in this industry. But not necessarily the industry, the people that we're trying to help within the industry.
Right. Even education through fire still isn't enough.
Yeah, you can lead them to the water, but you can just stand there and watch them pretend to drink the water and sip.
Right. They'll sit through the courses, click the documents, but they're still going to click on the link, and they're still going to have the password 1, 2, 3.
Hey, ITee, it happened again. What happened again? What did you click on, Karen?
My whole computer's down, whole network's down. What could be done? What
ITee's on vacation. Bye.
Well, I'm off for the day.
IT has left the building. But it's true. It's crazy. I've had these conversations with some leaders where just some people, like, no matter how much you teach, educate, show them, help them understand, at the end of the day, they have to take charge and lead their own selves and businesses. But they just fail to do so. You know, you can only do so much. And like,
Right. There's only
hopefully
so
putting the
much
content
education
out
you
there
can
will
do.
help. But yeah, it's like talking to a brick wall, you know?
Well,
Talking to Mr. Bean.
it's cybersecurity is just such a, it's a cost, like the same thing with like quality assurance, right? What I want to be doing when if you're running a business, what you want to be doing is you want to be selling products. That's what you want to be doing. You don't want anything to do with anything that isn't selling and delivering your product. It's just not. It's
I think
competitive.
that's kind of where the problem comes in. Like, we're like business owners, they're so good at what they do, running their business and doing it. Cybersecurity, we're good at securing. That's what we do. That's what we know how to do. But there's no bridge there, bridging the human aspect. We have to learn to communicate and help each other change those behaviors. It takes both of us to come together as a team to figure these things out, not just about making money at the end of the day, you know?
Well, you have to quantify. I think you have to quantify the risk.
Yeah.
What is the risk that you're running, not running a secure company, a secure pipeline? Think about all the customers you could lose. Think about all the money you could lose. $25 million is nothing to sneeze at.
Hell
Serious
no.
chunk of change.
I think you made it good. Risk. People don't understand what risk is or how they are involved in taking on risk. You know, they just don't
Right.
understand it, I think.
Not, and then ultimately, I've always been, and loves government regulation, but you really, especially for like critical industries like, healthcare or like, especially like energy, like you gotta have security protocols in place in order to protect yourself.
You hack the power grid, we're all screwed.
Yeah, as you can imagine. Imagine like an AI that's like some Skynet level stuff.
It's coming. I can see it. We're gonna sit back, eat popcorn, and watch it.
It's one thing I wondered if you've heard about. So there are these new AI agents, right? That can like
Yes.
Devin, the software programmer, right? You've heard about. What happens when there's a Henry the hacker agent? And what Henry the hacker agent is you install it on your computer, right? If you're not a good person, you're a hacker, and you're trying not a black hat hacker. You get a bunch of GPUs, and you install Henry the hacker on all your GPUs, and you just let Henry run wild and hack everybody. And now you have a dedicated hacker going after your business, and eventually they're going to get in.
On the next Darknet Diaries, Henry the Hacker.
Right. It's a hacker that can, because like sometimes it's not worth spending a hacker's time are valuable, and like so it has to be. It's not worth it always for them to come out and scam you. But if it's a GPU that costs 10 cents an hour to run, you can imagine.
I can see you could buy this on the dark net. AI agents as a service.
AI hack as a service, right?
Yep, it's coming. It's probably already there to a point, but
yeah, they're probably just a couple months, maybe a year away from hackers as a service.
And we're so far away from being able to combat it. We do nothing.
Right. I mean, and so many companies have no cybersecurity controls. They're completely leaving themselves vulnerable. Is that the kind of shift that we need? The kind of wake-up call to, you really have to take cyber seriously, just as seriously as even more seriously than physical security.
I feel like it's still gonna come, and they're gonna look at it and yawn, and still not know what the hell to do, and just sleep right on through it like nothing happened.
Well, if you lose,
taking it serious, but not enough.
If you lose enough money enough times, eventually you gotta
We have to have an Armageddon-like effect, like T3 Terminator, come down and almost wipe us all out to be able to realize, oh, we should have done something, huh?
You
Is it
really
too late?
I think you're probably right. I think
mean,
it really does have to be like a Terminator style. Like the AI has to like come out of their computer and like, you're hacked, you're gonna lose all your money, and that's gonna happen to like half the businesses. Like,
and I think we should start listening to cybersecurity
yeah.
folks.
Only then, only after billions and billions of dollars, maybe trillions of dollars is down the drain, only then is it worth actually investing in cybersecurity.
That's kind of how we react as a human being. That's kind of how we are until it becomes a worst case, life threatening, everything or nothing. I mean, all or nothing. And then we're like, okay, we need to change. We can't do this anymore.
I think you're right.
Like crazy.
It's really sad. Like, think about like dysentery. It took even with like washing your hands, right? There's a famous thing with the guy who was like, hey guys, you gotta like wash your hands if you're gonna do medicine. And it took years for that to happen. For a long time, doctors just didn't do it.
And you know what happened, right? Before that, do you know the rest of the story?
But the guy went crazy and died.
I may talk about a different story, but there's another one where back in the day, they didn't wash their hands after doing childbirth.
Right.
And then they'd go mess with the dead people. And then they didn't wash their hands because of that. It was reversed. Death going to childbirth and doing childbirth, the moms were dying because of that. They weren't washing their hands in between. They didn't realize that for so long.
Yeah, I think you're talking about the same story.
Okay,
and
terminology.
And there was a guy who was like, you gotta wash your hands. And they just wouldn't do it. They just wouldn't wash their hands. And now,
Act of God.
if you said, well, you shouldn't wash your hands before any kind of medical procedure, childbirth especially, you'd be lose your medical license. Or I hope you would. I don't know.
Hopefully not after a couple of deaths, but
yeah, you kill enough patients, you gotta.
But it takes that kind of act of God to actually realize to do something.
Right.
That we could have done all along.
It's never like a technological solution. Because the technological solution often already exists. Like washing your hands was not it's been done forever, right? But like
some high tech, if you wash your hands, you're playing with the best technology in the world.
Right. It's not something that you'd expect would be, I just don't want to, these sorts of things. But it really takes a concerted effort to drive that change with any technology. If you're doing, it's incredible. It's always the social problems that are the hardest to solve. So how do you, as a cybersecurity professional, solve your social problems, convincing people?
So
what's your best
our business model, we are a tech company, but we don't consider ourselves a technology company. We consider ourselves a leadership and behavior change company. I use a lot of psychology in what I do because what saved my life. I had to figure out that I had to be the leader for myself in my life. So I realized using that same terminology with other people, because you can't make people do things. So you have to kind of slowly implement things and change their behavior over time. Almost sometimes without telling them you're doing it. But in reality, they realize that their behaviors have changed by the slow implementation you've done throughout their company. And sometimes they adopt it, it works, and it stays. Other times, you can teach them all you want, and okay, we get it. Then a week later, they get a ransomware attack. Something can happen.
Right.
It's just that social behavior impact that we're pushing through.
So your company really does focus on that aspect of cybersecurity.
That is correct. So I've
actually getting compliance.
Doing that. No one is doing it that way. They're selling people these products. They say, oh, here's this. You'll be compliant with this. And they're washing their hands with them, walking away, not nurturing those relationships, not talking with them, not being a human with them, helping them understand why this is necessary.
Not actually getting this thing implemented. It's just sort of sitting there. Like you can have the best cybersecurity products in the world on your computer, but if you don't utilize them, they're absolutely worthless.
100%. And that's why I keep seeing that a lot is happening. It's like with cyber insurance. People check their boxes, I'm covered, and they don't look at it anymore. But all those things on cyber insurance, like multi-factor authentication, risk assessments, they don't do any of that stuff. They kind of wash their hands with it, like, I'm covered. I don't need to worry about it.
Right. They feel like, oh, I have insurance, so whatever happens, happens. Time for me to run my business. It's like if you had fire insurance and you're just like, let me just fill the area around my house with a bunch of hay.
I'm sure there's a clause that says, did you cut these trees down? Did you move out this stuff around your house to make sure it's not going to go up in flames, you know?
Right. And with cyber insurance, I'm sure are you doing two-factor authentication? Are you doing your trainings?
Yep. Business continuity plan, cyber awareness training, everything. You have privileged access management. What are you doing?
But what are your plans to actually mitigate the amount of damage that can be done?
And most people don't have any kind of incident response plan. They don't do tabletops. They have nothing. They're just like, oh, well, when something happens, we'll come to that. It's okay. Don't worry about it.
Which is just absurd. You have to have a plan.
It's delusional. It's like you're in denial. You're like, what is happening? It's like sometimes I have to kind of breathe and realize people don't know what they don't know. And then at the same time realize people don't care to know what they don't know.
Well, I think they don't want to know.
Agreed.
I said the same thing. But they don't they'd rather just stick their head in the sand and say, no cyber, no problems. It's absurd. It's an absurd thing.
And I've seen like so many of these conversations are being had like online through podcasts and stuff. You know, people are talking about it, but it's not the right people. It's not the people that are concerned. It's the people like us that we are in this industry. We get it. But the bridging that gap of knowledge and understanding to the other side of the equation where it actually matters is just that bridge is like burned for some reason. We can't figure out how to put it together.
Well, you don't need to convince me, right, the cyber is important and that you can get nailed. Like, I'm not the...
Now, listen here, Mr. Bean.
Well, we're gonna teach you to care about cybersecurity. I'm not the person that needs to be instructed. The problem is actually getting these people into a conversation and having them like sit down, understand. No, you can't have the same password for everything. No, you can't. You gotta have your ring key. You gotta have all these things,
right?
You can't convince them.
You can't. They've been doing what they've been doing for so long that they're like, oh, well, this is your problem. But it's not just our problem. It's our problem.
Yeah, you can't respond to the cyber attacks, but you can't like
respond to the behavior.
Respond to the behavior. And a lot of the times you're not managing these people. They're just going to do whatever they want. They don't care what you say.
That's just 100% true. And that's what I'm trying to do through great leadership and behavior modification. But it's very hard, you know? Like, you could preach something 1 million times, and maybe on the 20th million times, someone's like, and they ask the right questions.
I think that's why pen testing is so important, right? Because if someone gets got, they know they're gonna get nailed. You should, if you wanted to show people like the deepfakes, for instance, what I would do,
yes,
is I'd show up as them.
We're out there, make a partnership here. Let's figure this out here.
You should definitely.
You show up in the meeting.
If you want to, after this call, I can show you how to set up Deepfakes Live. We can have it on your computer today.
I think I might be down. That sounds like a great social strategy here. No one heard that.
It's so because it really shows how advanced technology have gotten and how deep the threats are.
And it gets so advanced so fast that people can't even keep up. They're still on they're still on the thing that, oh, how do I turn my phone off? How do I install an app? We're way past that.
Right. We're into the future. We're into cyberspace. This is like just this right here. This is like no one would have believed it was possible 10 years ago. This was a pipe dream. AI pipe dream 10 years ago. Now it's out there and it's on the way to being developed and to the point where the damage you could do is unbelievable.
People gotta stop taking the blue pill. I'm telling you, man.
Yeah, you gotta be aware.
Take that pill and crush it and throw it out and take the red pill.
Don't bury your head in the sand. You have to be aware of the reality.
Yes. Awareness of what you're doing, how you're doing it, because it actually involves and it threatens not even your business life, but the people around you, the people that you employ, your family, everyone. It affects everyone.
Well, it's dangerous when other people aren't doing it too, because they can take your money and they can lose your money. It's a social problem. These AIs and their security threats are a really, and I believe, really strong problem for the long term of humanity. You have to be able to resolve them somehow. So let me show you how to install this. It was great meeting with you. I think we had a great conversation.
Yeah, very awesome. Thank you for coming on today.
You can connect me easily on LinkedIn. Let me go ahead and let's start the recording, and I'll show you how to install your Deepfakes Live.
Awesome. Everyone, so people want to reach out to you, they want to learn more about this, so where can they find you at?
They can find me on LinkedIn. That's the best place to get me. And they can also find me at realityanchor.com.
Hell yeah.
reality-anchor.com. And then you can also find me I'm really on LinkedIn for social media.
It's a good place to be.
But you can find my email at alex.haussmann@gmail.com. And that's about it.
We can't wait for the second, third generation of this to come out. I'm excited to see.
What's the generation one was not something, it was literally just a hanger and some tape, and generation 2 is a little bit more advanced. I think the third generation is going to be really impressive and something you can wear. Yeah, we're going to make it viable. We're going to make it attractive. It's going to be exceptional.
Hell yeah. I can't wait, man. We'll have to have you back on here with that one soon as it comes out.
Absolutely. I'll definitely make the time to do it. Let's go ahead and
yes.
Great meeting you.
Yeah, nice seeing you too. I will go ahead and end this recording.
And I'll get you set up with Deepfakes Live so you can scare some of your executives.